We're joined now by Tara Yanni. Tara is an incumbent school director seeking re-election. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you to you and the League of Women Voters for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
So we are going to jump right into questions, and I do want to also say that Tara is cross-filed on both the Republican and the Democratic ballots so that people in both parties would be able to vote for her. But we are going to get right into questions.
Okay.
And the first question, I always say the same thing, it is about that which makes the world go round, and that's money. So the first question to you, equitable funding from the state continues to be an issue. Please share your knowledge of the issue and describe how you can impact this as a school director.
Sure. Well, anybody that lives in Scranton knows that the Scranton School District is currently underfunded to the tune of about $53 million. So I'm heavily invested in this because everything relies on our fair funding. Going from our updated security, our updated curriculum, everything that we need to do is based on fair funding. I just attended last week, there was a rally at Northeast Intermediate School, and it was organized by one of our 7th grade teachers, and she had her students come out and talk about what fair funding would mean to them. And that was really impactful to me, because to hear it out from our students' voices to say, we want more gym, we want more art, we want more music, well, that $53 million would give us that. I also sat in on meetings last week with our local legislators to speak with them about how, as a school board member, I can work with them. What do they need from me to advocate for this fair funding? So as a school board member, that's how we can impact it. We can continue to work with our local legislators. We can continue to listen to our students and listen to our staff of what they need and continue to share that with our legislators so they can take it even higher to get us that fair funding.
Okay, thank you. The second question, another important topic, and this one is safety.
Okay.
So what is the role the school board plays in ensuring the safety of our children?
What I have learned over the past 3.5 years of being on the school board is that the role of the school board member is heavily based on policy. So what we can do is set policy regarding safety and security. One of the biggest things that we just did was hire a director of safety and security. That's a huge accomplishment for this district, especially this size. It's been needed for a very long time, and we can listen. We can listen to our director of safety and security when he tells us what we need to do to keep our kids safe. I was actually at South Intermediate School yesterday, and when I was there, I walked in and I saw our SSOs, our school safety officers, standing right there. And one of them, I happen to know, his son went to school with my boys, and he's retired state police. So that's something that we can do as school board members. We can put qualified SSOs into our buildings, people that are walking the halls, that our students see and feel safe knowing that they're there. So that was a really great morning for me yesterday, to be able to see that and know that I played a role as a school director in implementing the policy to hire these SSOs.
Okay. The next question is a two-part question, okay?
Okay.
So closing a school is a hard decision to make, as you know.
Yes.
So what factors, the first part, what factors should be considered when you have to vote on a closure? And the second part is the opposite. What factors should not be considered when you have to vote on a closure?
So, again, as you know, living in Scranton, closing schools is a topic that has been discussed for several years. I struggle with this because our neighborhood schools are the cornerstones of our neighborhoods, and there's a lot of evidence to show that when you close a neighborhood school, that neighborhood deteriorates. We have a lot of communities within Scranton who walk to school, parents who don't have transportation. So all of those factors need to be considered when you're looking at school closures. We need to look at, is there going to be learning loss associated with that? But then again, as a school board member, you also have to, I'm often reminded of this by my colleagues, you have to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars. So you have to weigh that against a decision to close a school. We recently commissioned a building reconfiguration committee. The current board has done this, and it's composed of stakeholders, the taxpayers, the central administration, our teachers, parents, and they are currently looking at our Scranton School District buildings, and they're going to bring back their recommendations and suggestions. And I think that that's a very important piece, that we need to get that community input. I don't think just a board can sit there and say we need to close this school or not. We need to listen to our community. I look forward to seeing what they have to say, because the board I'm on now, and then when the board changes, the new board is going to have to make some really difficult decisions moving forward.
Okay. The next question, lots of questions come up about transportation. And all I'm talking about here is getting the kids back and forth to school.
Okay.
That's it, okay?
Yep.
Again, a two-part question. Discuss any changes you believe are needed to the district's policies on transportation for students. And then again, what factors need to be considered when you're voting for change? So what needs to be changed, and what should you consider?
Well, currently, our reimbursements are based on the distance that a student is from a school. So I think our current policy is that any student that lives more than 1.5 miles away from a school is provided transportation. So in doing that, there are circumstances where parents have come to us and they have said this could be considered a hazardous route, even though we're less than 1 mile from the school. At that point, we do have a supervisor of transportation and her staff, and they go and evaluate that route. The state also evaluates that route. So anything like that that's brought to our attention, we absolutely take a look at, and then those determinations are made, whether that child would be provided with transportation. It's a tough one, because again, we're looking at neighborhood schools. So you go back to, if we're going to close neighborhood schools, do we need to then look at the transportation and how far we're going to bus students? So as a board member's role, again, that's where policy comes into place. And we would have to look at all factors to determine if we need to change that policy. And then we also have to look at our budget and the bottom line to see how that would affect us, because we're not being reimbursed for those students that are within that 1.5 miles.
Okay. The next topic overall is, the general topic is on banning something, okay? And again, a two-part question. What should go into a process or a decision if a call to ban books, critical race theory, anything, banning anything, is floated before the school board, coming from any direction, wherever that might be? So what goes into your decision-making process on that? And then the second question that I have is, are these decisions up to the board?
Well, I'm going to answer your second part first. I'm the daughter of a retired public school English teacher. So my mother would say to me that it is not within my purview to ban any books or any piece of curriculum. That would be determined by our faculty, and that's why we have a faculty. I would agree with my mother on that too. I don't think it's within my purview to impress any of my thoughts, my values, my religion on curriculum. We have an amazing faculty in the Scranton School District. I think our teachers need the freedom to teach, and our students need the freedom to learn. So I would leave that in their hands.
Okay. I have one more question for you.
Okay.
It's got a little bit of an intro.
Okay.
And then the question at the end.
Okay.
Okay. Per legislation that was passed in April of 2022, the Pennsylvania Department of Education must integrate culturally relevant and sustaining education competencies into educator preparation, induction, and continuing professional development programs no later than the 23-24 academic year. So this is about teacher learning. There are 9 competencies. I'm not going to read them all. They have really long names, but
Yes.
they deal with things like your cultural lens, culturally relevant learning, microaggressions. It's about things like that. So 2 questions.
Okay.
What impact does or will this have on our teachers and our students?
Okay.
And then the other part, what role does the school board play in having to ensure compliance with this Pennsylvania law?
Okay. So I think I got all of that.
Okay,
But,
all right.
The first thing we're talking about is what role will this,
No, what impact would it have?
what impact would it have? Okay, I think that it would have a very positive impact on our faculty and our staff. We need to provide them with every opportunity to learn everything they can about any kind of systemic barriers that could prohibit them from positively influencing a student or their teachings. So to me, I believe that we need to do all of that. We would need to work, and I think this is to answer the second part, we would need to work with the Scranton Federation of Teachers, within their collective bargaining agreement. We would need to make sure that we provide them that time. They need those days to learn, because they're the ones in front of our children. They're the ones who are doing the hard work. So my role as a school board member would be to ensure that they have every opportunity to learn what they need to do to teach our children.
Okay. Tara, that's all the questions that I have for you.
Okay.
But you do have 2 minutes to give a closing statement.
Okay.
And you can talk to the voters about your campaign, about your platform, or about any topic that we haven't already covered.
Okay. So my name is Tara Yanni, and I am the proud parent of 2 graduates of Scranton, the Scranton Public School District. I have no higher political aspirations, so I'm putting that right out there now. You will never see me come before you and say I am running for something else. This is it. 3.5 years ago, I was sitting at my kitchen table, and I think I was complaining about something with the school district, and my husband looked at me and said, well, then maybe you should run for school board. And I said, well, I don't know how to do that. I'm not a politician. So on my campaign signs, it says, I am a parent, not a politician. I stick to that. I'm really proud of how much I've learned in the past 3.5 years, and how well I've worked with the team that I'm currently on the board with. I feel like we have come out of financial recovery, and we still have a really long way to go. I want to continue to work with this team and help to move us forward. We need to continue to follow our amended recovery plan, but we've made so much progress, and I would hate to see us lose any of that. So that's really why I'm rerunning, and I'm not going to lie, I thought long and hard about it, because as we discussed, it's a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy, but there's a big learning curve. So I've put in that time and energy, so I'd like to see it through. I want to be able to pay it forward for the district that's helped both of my children and their successes to date in life. So that's really why I'm sitting here.
All right. That concludes our time with Tara Yanni. Tara, thank you so much for joining us today. And I want to remind voters that Tara is cross-filed on both the Republican and the Democratic ballots for the primary election. So voters in both parties will be able to cast their ballot for her on May 16th. And thank you again for your time today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.